Hello everyone and welcome. Andy Bryan here from Optimal Hemp, and today I'm here with Gav Lawson from THTC Clothing, an incredible eco clothing brand, and today we're going to be talking about hemp clothing and organic clothing as a whole as well, and how it plays a part in sustainable living, having an impact on the environment and so much more. So we're excited to bring this podcast to you today. Tell us a bit more about yourself before we get started.
Okay, so I live in Acton. The THTC office is in Ealing Broadway. It's just across the road here. We're currently in Radsky's studio, who does all my photography and all my video content. And I started THTC with my brother and a friend called Dan Sodergren, who now has a company called Great Marketing Works. We started the company 18 years ago, after a couple of years of having a society at universities in Hull and UW in Bristol called Hempology, which are hemp awareness societies. And then, and then really since leaving uni, this is the only job that I've had. My brother, Dan, left after a couple of years. My brother left 2008, and I've been flying the flag since. Now joined by Ashwin Bowler, who does all the digital marketing for THTC.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the website.
So before we jump into sustainable clothing, it'd be interesting to look at your history and your past, because I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on how hemp has evolved over the years in terms of, in terms of its use in clothing and a sustainable material, possibly.
I would say it hasn't evolved nearly as quickly as it should have, and if I'd known when we started the brand that it was going to take so long for people to wake up and actually start embracing it as a fabric and as a byproduct, as all the other byproducts, then I would have thought twice about it. We were a bit naive when we started, because we thought when everyone finds out that it's a wonder crop and it could potentially save the world from environmental catastrophe, that people would embrace it. Although people that know about it tend to embrace it and tend to really champion it as a crop and a fabric. The governments have been very slow to react. It's only really, I think, been in the last few years since the US have started embracing it as a cash crop that the rest of the world have actually been waking up as well. So I've been quite disappointed with the hemp movement as a whole. I mean, cannabis has come quite a long way in recent years. Hemp has really taken a while. In terms of clothing companies, but it is expensive to produce because there's not a lot being grown. It shouldn't be expensive to produce because you don't need pesticides or chemicals, and you need hardly any water to grow it compared with conventional cotton. But it's really been the Chinese that have been flying the hemp flag when it comes to textiles. They've been using it for thousands of years, and they're really at the forefront.
Awesome.
Still.
So let's talk about what makes hemp so sustainable as a clothing material.
Okay, well, as I just mentioned, the water saving, it can be grown with way less water. It takes about 4,000 litres of water to grow a conventional cotton t-shirt. Hemp can be grown with more like 800 litres. So from that point of view, cotton is a very, very thirsty crop, and cotton throwaway fashion is just an environmental disaster, really. We live in a throwaway culture, and people are used to just buying something, and the whole essence of fashion is that when something becomes unfashionable, high fashion from last year, you're encouraged to discard it and buy something else, which is not sustainable at all. So hemp t-shirts, hemp fabric is a lot more durable than cotton. It will last a lot longer. So we're trying to encourage people, although it's not the basis of a particularly successful business model, to not buy as much and to use their clothes till they wear out. And we have people coming up to us at festivals all the time saying, "Oh man, I've been wearing this t-shirt for 15 years and it's still good." So they're pretty indestructible. Obviously, hemp doesn't need chemicals to be grown either. So it's a weed. It doesn't need weed killers. It tends to kind of strangle out the other weeds as well. And it also, when you take land which is pretty much destroyed through too much chemical production, hemp will rejuvenate the soil. And if you grow hemp on on soil for a number of years, then that soil can then be certified organic. So it's
Fantastic.
It's very good for the land.
In terms of putting it into a t-shirt or a fabric, then is it woven very similar to something like cotton then? Very similar in that process?
Similar. So the retting process, there's quite a long retting process of several weeks, which the crop currently needs, which essentially softens the fabric. Now, with fabrics such as bamboo and a lot of viscoses, there's a bit of a greenwash going on where the perception is that it's a lot more environmental, but actually bamboo is not. It's very environmental to grow because it's the fastest growing crop in the world and needs very little water as well. But then the actual process to turn it into the viscose uses a lot of caustic soda, a lot of chemicals, and by the time they've come out with the fabric itself, it's non-recognizable to an organic fabric. Hemp doesn't need nearly so much, so they'll ret it and soften it up, and then they'll weave and spin it with organic cotton generally.
Fantastic.
Hemp is 100% fibre, is a little bit rough for t-shirts, and it's also it's more expensive. So it tends to be mixed with other sustainable fabrics or organic cotton.
So make it more comfortable and sort of wearable things.
And a little less expensive. Yeah.
It's interesting you spoke about the bamboo production, because I did a research into that a couple of years ago, and I was blown away. I was like, bamboo is not sustainable. Yeah. Just the chemical process is quite worrying as well. And from a health perspective, imagine putting that on your body and into your skin.
And I feel sorry for a lot of companies that have based their whole business model on bamboo being sustainable, because it's just not. It's a great, don't get me wrong, it's a great plant to use for furniture and for building materials.
Yeah,
it's not as good as hemp. Hempcrete building is I think going to be a massive one for the future for the hemp plant.
Yeah, and so sustainable as well. Again,
fireproof, mold-proof.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And I will be interviewing someone on Hempcrete going forward, because
you should go to Tony Budden out in South Africa. That would make a good trip.
I'd love to do that.
A house built of hemp
fantastic. Yeah, I'd love to make my own house, build my own house of hemp. So in the future it will come.
And eco pods, little eco hemp pods. I think that's a way.
I didn't realise they were around, but I'll search for them.
I don't know if they are yet, but they definitely should be. Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about yourself and your brand as a whole then.
Okay, so THTC, I started, as I said, with my brother and a friend, and we essentially our goal was to bring hemp to the high street, which it hadn't been. It took a while, but we were relatively successful in that. From a commercial point of view, we were the first organic, ethical clothing product in Virgin megastores. We wrote to Richard Branson, and he brought us into 25 of his record stores, which was pretty bold because a lot of our designs were quite political. Yeah. We had an anti-McDonald's design hanging in the window in Leicester Square, right next to a McDonald's shop, a McDonald's restaurant, and it was pretty bold. And then we managed to get into TK Maxx. We were at one point the best-selling t-shirt brand in TK Maxx.
Very cool.
But then we had to pull out of there. It was upsetting a lot of our other wholesalers having t-shirts that were £8 cheaper just around the corner.
Yeah,
so
I can imagine.
We pulled out there, but it was good for exposure. And we've essentially I've always seen THTC as kind of a stepping stone brand. So we've always tried to create a market of young activists. Our designs are quite activist. By wearing a hemp t-shirt, you're already making an environmental statement and essentially being an activist. But then the prints that we put on the shirts, we don't tend to put weed smoking connotations because it's a bit obvious, and we tend to go for a slightly more intelligent kind of design concepts, which I'll show you in a minute. But essentially, we always see it as a stepping stone brand. So we'll try and go after people who are good people but don't necessarily know anything about environmentalism. People are a lot more switched on now than they were 15 years ago.
Definitely.
So essentially, you empower people by saying this t-shirt is made ethically by people that are paid a fair wage, and by wearing it and supporting the brand, you are making an environmental step. And people feel really good about that. Now, we partner a lot of our designs with various charities such as World Land Trust, Environmental Investigation Agency, Born Free Foundation, Crisis, Momentum. And by doing that, essentially we give a donation between 15 and 35% of each t-shirt that will go to one of these charities. So people also then feel like they've done their bit for charity whilst buying the t-shirt. So
excellent.
I think that's been a really good model. We also partner with or work with a lot of musicians, actors, activists, and celebrities, from Ed Sheeran and Beardy Man through to Redman the rapper, Benjamin Zephaniah, Woody Harrelson supported the brand. So yeah, we do enjoy a lot of exposure through artists and celebrities as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw the Ed Sheeran poster.
Oh yeah.
In the office, looking pretty good.
Yeah. He's a big supporter of hemp as well. He believes in it. Yeah. So yeah.
So I was going to ask you where you see hemp moving in the future, but I feel like you're already sort of creating that market and trying to bring it forward a bit further.
We are. I mean, I'd love to see hemp. The dream is to see hemp being grown for market all across Europe, and it's really, as I said, only the Chinese and a few other countries that are doing a bit of hemp production for textiles, but really the Chinese are just way ahead when it comes to the actual production of it. So there's actually a machine called a decorticator invented by Adrian Clark, and we were in a documentary on Channel 4 about 2004, and he was discussing this. He was showing us about how this decorticator worked. Now this would totally cut out the need to ret all the plants in these big retting chambers, and it would make it so much easier. You essentially put the fabric straight in, the stalk straight in, and it comes out with the fabric ready to weave. Now he has been trying to bring this machine to market since 2004, before that. Yeah. And the farmers, he's in Australia, and the farmers were facing so much, such a big barrier from Monsanto and from, essentially paid not to use hemp, not to grow hemp. Yeah. And then when some of them decided they wanted to, he told me that they were threatened. Monsanto is probably the worst company in the world as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
But essentially there's a lot of pressure and lobbying on stopping hemp production. But the dream for me would be to see hemp produced all across Europe and then, actually spun into the fabric and then made. Yeah. I'd love to make hemp that's grown and produced in the UK. It'd be the dream. Fantastic. If it wasn't for if it wasn't for me doing hemp textiles, I would have gone into hemp plastics, I think, because I think that is absolutely massive. If you picture every bit of plastic that's ever been created is still around, and the sea is full of it, biodegradable biomass plastic is definitely the way forward. And of course, biomass for engine oil. Which is definitely. So, and it seems like 100 years ago, when Henry Ford was building cars out of hemp and Rudolf Diesel was creating a hemp diesel engine, we've gone so far back in 100 years. Oh, it's phenomenal, isn't it? It's very. Could you see yourself bringing out a brand that would be introducing hemp plastics then? I would love to. I would love to more. Really, I think I've got my hands full with THTC, so I think I would like to work with somebody that is doing hemp plastics. Because I think it's for plastic bags and for any sort of plastic. Again, it will be expensive at first because there's not much being grown. When it's grown all over the place, it will be cheap as chips. Definitely. And biodegradable. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, it's my goal and aim with the interviews in many ways to make hemp more widely available or increase the exposure. Yeah. Because the general public need to know about this plant. They need to see the positive influence, I feel, and for me, the interviews is all about bringing the positive influence about what the hemp can do. Sure. I don't really want to touch on the political stuff so much. We know that that's there, and there are people making it difficult to share these products. Vested interests, yeah. But it's up to us as individuals and brands like yourself to really make that positive influence and show the world that this is an incredible and amazing plant. We've got to get on board and show and share the positive benefits. Absolutely. So, people are switching onto it. I mean, the internet is widely to thank for that, I think. Definitely. And videos that are just so unbelievable and so groundbreaking, and you can't argue with the facts of cannabis and hemp. Definitely not. And when people see that, it's content that people are very happy to share and promote. Excellent. Final question then. Yep. Okay. Where can we find out more about yourself and your brand and these products? So, Ash is in the warehouse in the office next door, putting out our newsletter. You can sign up to that through the website, which is thtc.co.uk. Facebook page is THTC1, and then you can find us on all the other channels at THTC Clothing. So Instagram, Twitter, not on Snapchat because I'm a bit old for that, but yeah,
it's all good.
YouTube channel, and and we do most of our sales are through the website, but we also have a number of stockists around the world who sell them, which you can find on the website as well.
And I was going to ask about your t-shirts, just I know it's another question, but are you looking to bring out like jumpers and things like that, or more heavy-based clothing?
We did. I used to have a range of hoodies and tracksuit bottoms and shirts and all sorts, but the factory that we were using for those, it was one of the most advanced hemp, or probably the most advanced hemp factory around, and they were just very expensive. But we've come on a long way since that. That was 10 years ago. So I would be I am actually sampling another range of hoodies, and I'm going to go back out to the factories in spring next year to go. And my brother used to do all the production, so he used to go and do that particular trip. I'm going to be going with a little production crew to go and film and look at what we can do next. Hemp socks, for instance. These are Maharishi hemp shoes, normally everything pretty much that I wear is hemp or eco. But I would love to do more hoodies and more jumpers for sure. Definitely, fantastic. Are there any parting words you want to say? Really look for information about hemp, because it's all out there, and share it, because it's we have to leave a planet that's fit for the kids. They're a lot more switched on than us oldies about environmentalism, and I'd say just don't be scared about the fact it's from a cannabis plant. Cannabis is an incredible crop, and there's nothing negative about it apart from its bad press, So really, don't be scared about it. Look for anything you can that's made of hemp, and use it and share it with your friends. Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me today, Gavin. It's a pleasure. Cool. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks, guys. And I'll see you all again soon for another interview. And if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. If you're tuning in on YouTube, if you listen to our podcast, feel free to send us any questions. You can always contact me at inquiries@optimal-hemp.com, or even get in touch with Gavin. Yeah, Gav and THTC.co.uk. I would say a massive shout and thanks to all the extended family, because THTC is not just Ash and myself, it is all the musicians or Radsky and Anya that do our video and our photos, and it's all the extended family, so it's not possible without you guys. Love you. Excellent. Thanks a lot, and see you soon.